I need to tell you something, and it's going to sting, but stay with me, because by the end of tonight, you're going to understand why your life looks the way it does, and more importantly, how to change it. You're a dreamer, not a doer, and deep down, you know it. You've had hundreds of ideas, maybe thousands. Ideas that excited you, ideas that kept you up at night, ideas you were convinced could work, could change things, could matter. And how many have you built? How many have you actually executed? How many have you taken from concept to reality? Be honest. The answer is probably 0, or close to it. That's not an insult, that's a fact, and it's a fact for most people. Most people are dreamers. They think, they plan, they imagine, but they don't do, they don't build, they don't execute. And the gap between what they dream and what they do, that gap is their entire life. That's where all the potential goes to die. So tonight I'm going to show you what separates dreamers from doers, not so you can feel bad about yourself, but so you can become the other type of person, the type who actually builds things, who turns ideas into reality, who does instead of just dreams. Let me paint you a picture. It's 3 in the morning, you're lying in bed, sleep is impossible because your mind is racing. You just had an idea, a good one, maybe a great one. You can see it so clearly, how it would work, who would use it, why it matters. The excitement is almost overwhelming. This could be it. This could be the one. You grab your phone, you start taking notes, sketching, planning. For the next hour, you're totally absorbed, building this thing in your mind, seeing all the possibilities. Finally, exhausted but energized, you fall asleep. Tomorrow, you tell yourself, tomorrow I'll start making this real. Here's what happens next for most people, for dreamers. Tomorrow comes, life happens, work, responsibilities, distractions. The idea is still there, but it's less urgent now, less vivid. You tell yourself you'll work on it this weekend. Weekend comes, you're tired, you've had a long week, you deserve rest. Besides, you need to think through the idea more, plan it properly. You don't want to rush into something without a solid plan. So you think about it, you refine it in your head, you imagine different scenarios, different approaches. You're doing the work, you tell yourself, the mental work, the important work. Weeks pass, the idea is still in your head, still exciting when you think about it, but you haven't actually done anything, haven't taken a single concrete action, haven't moved it 1 inch closer to reality. Eventually, someone else launches something similar, or the idea starts to seem less exciting, or life just moves on. And the idea joins the graveyard of all your other ideas, the ones you were going to build someday when the time was right, when you were ready. That's the dreamer's path, and if you're honest, you recognize yourself in it. Now let me show you what happens when a doer has that same 3 a.m. idea. The next morning they do something, not everything, not the whole plan, just something. They send an email to someone who might know about this space. They draft a simple outline. They sketch a mock-up on paper. They write down the core concept in 1 clear sentence. It takes 30 minutes, maybe an hour. It's not perfect, it's not complete, but it's something. It's movement. It's the idea starting to become real. The day after, they do something else. They talk to 3 people who might be potential customers. They research if anyone else is doing this. They build a simple prototype. Not the full thing, just the core, the minimum viable version. A week later, they have something they can show people, something they can test, something they can get feedback on. It's rough, it's incomplete, but it exists outside their head, it's real. A month later, they've iterated based on feedback. They've refined the concept. They've tested it with real users. They know more about whether this idea is actually good, whether it solves a real problem, whether people will actually use it. 3 months later, they either have something that's working and growing, or they've learned this idea isn't viable and they've moved on to the next one. Either way, they've made progress, they've done something, they've executed. That's the doer's path. Same idea, same starting point, completely different outcome. So here's my question for you. Which person are you? Be honest. When you have an idea, which path do you take? The dreamers or the doers? And if you're the dreamer, and I suspect most of you are, why? What's stopping you from being the doer? What's the actual difference between these 2 people? That's what we're here to figure out tonight. Because the difference isn't what you think. It's not talent. It's not resources. It's not connections or luck or timing. The difference is simpler and harder and completely within your control. Let me give you some numbers, because numbers make things real. Let's say you've been thinking about starting something for 5 years. In those 5 years, you've had, 100 ideas, maybe more? Let's be conservative and say 100. That's 100 opportunities, 100 chances to build something, 100 possibilities for creating value, making money, changing your life. And you've executed on how many? Let's say you've actually built 5 of them. That's optimistic for most people, but let's use it. That means you've let 95 ideas die, 95 opportunities you saw and didn't take, 95 possibilities you let slip away. Now think about the time cost. Each idea probably occupied your mind for a few weeks, a month? Let's say each idea took up 2 weeks of mental space. That's 190 weeks, almost 4 years. 4 years of your life spent thinking about things you never built. 4 years of mental energy, creative thought, emotional investment in ideas that went nowhere. What could you have done with 4 years of actual execution instead of just thinking? What could you have built? What could you have learned? Who could you have become? That's the cost of being a dreamer instead of a doer. And it's not just time, it's everything. Because those ideas, those unlived possibilities, they define who you are, or rather who you're not. So let me tell you what actually separates dreamers from doers. Because once you understand this, you can change it. Difference 1, doers have a bias toward action. Dreamers think, doers do. It's that simple. When faced with an idea, dreamers immediately start analyzing, planning, preparing. They want to think it through, get it right, be ready. Doers just start. They don't wait until they have all the answers. They don't wait until the plan is perfect. They don't wait until they feel ready. They just take the first step, then the second, then the third. This doesn't mean doers are reckless. It means they understand something dreamers don't. You can't think your way to clarity, you have to act your way there. The answers come from doing, not from planning. Difference 2. Doers start before they're ready. Dreamers wait for the right time, the right circumstances, the right level of preparedness. They want to feel ready before they begin, so they prepare, they plan, they learn, they wait. And they're always waiting because you never feel ready. There's always more to learn, always more to prepare, always reasons to wait a little longer. Doers know this, so they start anyway. They start scared, they start unprepared, they start with incomplete knowledge and insufficient resources. They start from wherever they are, with whatever they have, and then they figure it out as they go. They learn by doing, they adapt, they iterate. They get better through action, not through preparation. This is the fundamental insight. Starting doesn't require readiness. Starting creates readiness. You become ready by doing the thing, not by preparing to do the thing. Difference 3. Doers embrace imperfection. Dreamers have high standards. They want their work to be good, great, even. They don't want to put something mediocre into the world, so they refine, they polish, they perfect, and they never ship, because nothing is ever good enough. There's always something that could be better, always another iteration, always room for improvement. Doers understand that done is better than perfect. They ship things that aren't ready. They put imperfect work into the world. They let people see the rough drafts. And you know what happens? They get feedback. They learn what actually matters. They discover what needs to improve and what's good enough. They make progress while dreamers are still polishing. The irony is that doers end up with better final products, not because they start with higher quality, but because they iterate in the real world instead of in their heads. Reality teaches them things planning never could. Difference 4. Doers accept failure as part of the process. Dreamers are afraid of failure, so they don't try, or they prepare endlessly to minimize the chance of failure. They see failure as something to avoid at all costs. Doers expect failure. They know most things don't work on the first try. Maybe not the second or third try either, and they're okay with that, because they see failure as information, as feedback, as part of learning. This changes everything. When you're not afraid of failure, you can try things, you can experiment, you can take risks, you can move fast, because you're not paralyzed by the fear of getting it wrong. Dreamers spend their whole lives avoiding failure, and in doing so, they guarantee failure, because not trying is its own kind of failure, maybe the worst kind. Difference 5. Doers make decisions quickly. Dreamers deliberate. They weigh options. They consider every angle. They want to make the right decision, so they think and think and think some more. And while they're thinking, opportunities pass, markets shift, someone else moves first, the window closes. Doers make decisions fast, not because they're impulsive, but because they understand that most decisions are reversible, that you can change course if you're wrong, that a decent decision made quickly is better than a perfect decision made slowly. They'd rather be wrong quickly than right slowly, because being wrong quickly means you learn and adjust. Being right slowly means you miss the opportunity. Difference 6. Doers are comfortable with uncertainty. Dreamers need to know how things will turn out. They need assurance, guarantees, certainty that it'll work before they commit. But that certainty doesn't exist. You can never know for sure if something will work. Not until you try it. Not until you put it in the world and see what happens. Doers accept this. They're comfortable moving forward without knowing the outcome. They're comfortable with risk, with ambiguity, with the possibility that it might not work. This comfort with uncertainty is a superpower. It lets you move when everyone else is frozen. It lets you try things others won't attempt. It lets you live instead of just planning to live. Difference 7. Doers focus on the next step, not the whole staircase. Dreamers look at the entire journey from here to there. All the steps, all the obstacles, all the work required, and they're overwhelmed. It's too much, too complicated, too hard. So they don't start, or they start and quit quickly because the mountain seems too high. Doers only look at the next step. What's the very next thing I need to do? Not the whole plan, not the entire journey, just the next step. And they take that step, then they look at the next one, then they take that one. And eventually, step by step, they climb the mountain. Not because they could see the top, but because they kept taking the next step. This is the secret to doing anything big. Don't think about the whole thing, just focus on what's next. What can you do today, right now, this hour? Do that, then do the next thing. That's how doers build empires, one step at a time, while dreamers are still standing at the bottom studying the map. Now let me tell you how to become a doer, because knowing the difference isn't enough. You have to change, and here's how. Step 1, adopt the 48-hour rule. When you have an idea, you have 48 hours to take one action on it. Not to finish it, not to build it, just to do something, anything that moves it forward. Send an email, write an outline, talk to one person, build a mock-up, do research, just do something within 48 hours. This rule prevents ideas from rotting in your head, it forces action, it makes doing your default instead of thinking. Step 2, start with the smallest possible version. Don't try to build the whole thing. Build the tiniest version, the one thing that captures the core of the idea, something you can create in a day, a weekend, a week. Not the full vision, not all the features, not the polished product, the absolute minimum, the thing you can show someone and say, is this interesting? That's your starting point. Build that, then iterate from there. Step 3, ship before you're ready. Set a deadline, an aggressive one, and commit to shipping something by that date no matter what. Even if it's not done, even if it's not perfect, even if you're not ready. This forces you to prioritize, to focus on what matters, to let go of perfectionism, to get comfortable with good enough. And here's what you'll discover. Good enough is usually plenty good. The things you thought were essential often aren't, and getting something into the world, even imperfect, teaches you more than any amount of planning. Step 4, embrace public failure. Tell people what you're building, show them the work in progress, let them see the rough drafts. Get comfortable with people seeing your imperfect work. This does 2 things. It creates accountability. You're more likely to follow through when others know about it, and it makes failure less scary. When people see your process, they understand that imperfection is part of it. Step 5, measure action, not results. Don't judge yourself by whether things work out. Judge yourself by whether you took action. Did you do something? Did you ship? Did you try? That's success. Results are partially out of your control. Markets change. Timing matters. Luck plays a role, but action is completely in your control. So measure action. If you take action consistently, Results will follow eventually. But if you wait for results before you act, you'll never start. Now let me address what you're thinking, because I know the objections, the reasons this doesn't apply to you, the special circumstances that make your situation different. You're thinking, but I have responsibilities. I can't just try things. I have bills to pay, a family to support. I can't afford to fail. Here's the truth. You can't afford not to try. Because what you're doing now, is it working? Is it giving you the life you want? Is it getting you where you want to go? If not, then playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do, because it guarantees you stay stuck. At least trying something new gives you a chance. And by the way, being a doer doesn't mean quitting your job and betting everything. It means taking action while you manage your responsibilities, testing ideas on nights and weekends, starting small, building gradually. You're thinking, but I need more skills, more knowledge, more preparation. I'm not ready yet. Here's the truth. You'll never feel ready. There will always be more to learn, always more skills to acquire, always reasons you're not qualified enough. But you don't need to be an expert to start. You just need to know enough to take the first step, and then the second. You learn the rest by doing. The people who seem like experts, most of them figured it out as they went. They started before they were ready. They learned by doing. You can too. You're thinking, but what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if I waste my time? Here's the truth. You're already failing by not trying, by letting ideas die in your head, by staying a dreamer instead of becoming a doer. And wasting time? You're wasting time right now, thinking about things you're not building, planning things you're not executing, dreaming things you're not doing. At least if you try and fail, you learn something. You grow. You have stories. You have experience. That's not waste. That's life. Let me tell you what's at stake here. Because this isn't just about building projects or starting businesses. This is about who you become. Every time you have an idea and don't act on it, you reinforce an identity. The identity of someone who doesn't follow through, someone who thinks but doesn't do, someone who dreams but doesn't build. And over time, that identity becomes who you are. It becomes your story. The person who had potential but never did anything with it. The person who could have but didn't. Is that who you want to be? Is that the story you want to tell? Or do you want to be someone else? Someone who tries things, who builds things, who turns ideas into reality. Someone who does instead of just dreams. You get to choose right now, tonight, this moment. You can keep being the person you've always been, the dreamer, the planner, the person who thinks about it. Or you can become someone different, a doer, starting right now with whatever idea is in your head. Take one action, just one, within the next 48 hours. That action won't change everything, but it'll start something. A shift from dreaming to doing, from thinking to building, from who you were to who you could be. And if you keep taking those actions, one after another, day after day, you'll look back a year from now and not recognize yourself. You'll have built things, learned things, become someone new. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Not talent, not luck, not circumstances, just the willingness to act, to start, to do. So do it. Stop dreaming. Start doing. The world has enough dreamers. It needs more doers. Be a doer, starting now. Thank you.